The Gazizi was a lizard-like reptilian creature with sharp eyes, stubby feet, a long tail, and rough skin as hard as its name. Native to both the Sog and the Endless Forest, these creatures had no amazing special features or unique qualities, and were mostly seen as simple prey and food sources for other more magnificent creatures. Because they were preyed on so often, the females have evolved to lay a large number of eggs every trine, ensuring their populations. When the eggs emerge, they come through the creature's skin, pushed to the surface, and when the babies hatch, dozens at a time will cling to the mother's back until they're brave enough to leap into the wild. Found mostly in the Sog, preferring to live near brackish waters, the Tonic was a small hedgehog-like mammal that has compact facial features, a long wriggling snout, tiny feet, and hundreds of sharp quills lining its entire back. Over time, these quills would become laden with moss, seeds, spores, leaves, flowers, and various other types of flora, creating a colorful display along their backs, almost like a tiny forest. Although this makes them extremely easy targets to predators, the Drenchen have fortunately adopted many of them as pets, keeping them for companionship, entertainment, and, the most strange of all, living scrub brushes. The Guffa is perhaps the most appropriately named creature in all of Thra. One look at its face and you can almost see the name. With beady black eyes, a frowning whiskered snout with 2 fangs, and plump bodies, Guffles were warm-blooded creatures who could live as easily in the sea as they could on land. They are expert swimmers, utilizing a thick layer of blubber to protect themselves from freezing ocean temperatures, ever on an endless quest to find their favorite food, often leading them from the swamp of Sog all the way out to the Silver Sea. Because of their voracious appetites, they were well known for their frequent flatulence, which would sometimes be so ear-piercing that even the Skeksis would jump. In case you were wondering where all of the Skeksis' food scraps go at their banquets, well, the Skeksis actually kept them under their tables to consume any stray food. Although, when a Guffa would become too fat and lazy to perform, they would soon find themselves on the table instead of under it. Karatiks were very strange-looking birds, which were native to the Crystal Desert. They had sharp blue eyes, bulging bulbous beaks, oversized legs, and dark fluffy feathers. When the suns were at their highest and hottest, these creatures could actually shift their feathers to the top of their bodies, blocking out the burning rays of the sun. And when the darkness fell again and the cold temperatures returned, they could shift their feathers to the bottom, protecting their exposed undersides to retain heat. Although normally and primarily insectivores, when sandstorms destroy their feeding grounds, they have been known to resort to being carnivorous, and, in extreme circumstances, even cannibals. Much like Skektek's favorite pet, the Sedetic, the Pymlin was a small mammal covered in a fine coat of dark green fur, with sprouts of bright green feathers, and had tiny feet, sunken eyes, and a smushed snout. One of the most elusive creatures to ever exist, and found only in the Sog, the Pymlin built its nest out of swamp mosses, and fed mostly on tree leaves and insects. The last known specimen was dissected in the scientist's lab in the late Age of Division, with his only note about it being a remark on the color of its blood, which matched its green fur. Now here is undoubtedly one of the most bizarre and unique creatures on the entire planet, the Brightshez. They were covered in bright pink and purple fur, which plumed from their bodies, giving them the appearance of a ball of fuzz with 4 clawed feet. With only a sharp face accented by 3 feathered appendages sticking out from its nose, the Brightshez could be found waddling across the floors of the Endless Forest, searching for tiny prey in the dirt by utilizing its 3 feelers to sense minute changes in the air, sifting through thousands of scents until food is located. But stalkers beware. Because its bright colors make them easy targets, they have learned to sprint at incredible speeds whenever threatened. Closely resembling our own toads and frogs in both appearance and name, the Riddit were bulging reptiles with thick skin, round eyes, a tuft of rough fur, and strong clawed hands. At home in the endless forest, they used their powerful hands to burrow into the forest's topsoil, all the way down into the root system of trees, where they would set up elaborate living and breeding chambers, which would become so vast and extensive that they would often topple over entire tree systems, setting off small cave-ins. They received their name from the bubble-like vocal sacs that they used to communicate, which would emulate a distinct Riddit sound. The Gridit was the above-ground cousin of the Riddit, with much brighter vibrant skin, rubbery flesh, and super flexible joints and limbs made from cartilage, although their most distinguishing feature was a row of suction cups running down their 4 legs, which they used to cling to slippery river rocks. Found mostly in the streams of the endless forest or the tall grasses in the sog, these creatures thrive on moisture and can often be found sleeping in puddles after a rainfall, soaking in every drop through their skin. In fact, moisture is such an important aspect of their lives that if there is a drought, they will actually expel all the water from their bodies and enter a state of suspended animation until the rain returns once again. Considered a delicacy by Vapran aristocrats, the Lumpunum were awkward, strangely molded creatures with egg-shaped heads attached to 4 lumpy legs with no distinguishing features aside from its very small eyes. They were so slow-moving and odd that they were often mistaken for rock formations, and as a result were mostly ignored by Thra's predators. However, chefs in Harar, whether desperate or curious, came to realize that their flesh was extremely soft, tender, and delicious, and they only needed a few blades of grass a day to live on, making them an extremely low-maintenance and low-effort food source. Just as its name so properly describes, flingets are small amphibious frog-like creatures with a wide mouth, furry backs, and incredibly long and sticky tongues which they utilize to capture passing insects by flinging out their tongues in the blink of an eye. They were one of the Sog's most common creatures and could be immediately recognized as a thick mess of wet hair floating along the surface of the marshes. Strangely, the Drenchens stayed away from them, as they believed that these creatures spread warts. But in reality, their mucus actually had unbelievably strong healing properties and have long been used by seafaring sailors to cure all kinds of ailments, keeping them aboard their ships. Although, if you do need some healing, be prepared to lick its belly, if you dare.